Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the vlog. Hope everyone is having an awesome day. We have some great Corvette news to go over today. And for someone like myself who's been in the running for trying to get a Z06 for the better half of almost a year now, the ERay is the next best thing and more realistic for something I'll be able to get my hands on. So it's exciting to note that as of Wednesday, ERay production has began. So I think it's important to go over what actually has taken place and what has occurred. These aren't necessarily customer orders. These are sellable test vehicles. Unlike the previous batch of ERays that we've seen at some of the major car events, these are sellable ERays that will go up for auction once the testing process has been completed, unlike the cars that were previously produced, which would end up getting destroyed. And this makes sense because I have shared on the channel that Corvette production for 2023 had been extended for 2 additional months. And naturally, with that extension, the 2024 ERay was also pushed back. There were rumors and speculation that the ERay was supposed to have a later start date than the regular Stingrays, but none of that was ever really confirmed, and we don't know if that's even true going forward. But what we do know is September is the kickoff of the 2024 model year production, and these test vehicles are ERays that will be sellable at the end of their testing run. And it's really cool to get the insight of what may impact Stingray and Z06 production once the ERay hits production at Bowling Green Assembly. And before we dive into the specifics, if you are stopping by for the first time, you like this video, you like the nature of the content, smash that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you are the first to be notified when there is Corvette information, and leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are on today's news and Corvette update. So this information comes from Roger Keel, who is a great source for Corvette production information. He tracks just about everything under the sun for Corvettes, and he did initially share this on Facebook, and I was able to get this information from the Mid-Engine Corvette forum. If you have not checked out the Mid-Engine Corvette forum, I highly recommend that you do so. A great community with a lot of great people that have a lot of great information about the Corvette. And as a Corvette enthusiast, it's always great to surround yourself with other people that love the car as much as you do. And so what Roger Keel confirmed is on Wednesday, about 50 ERays were produced each day, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which totaled out to almost 150 ERays being produced in May 24th, 25th, and 26th. And the big thing to note is as a result, Stingray production was significantly reduced Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which kind of makes sense because this car does share some of the engine components, actually the engine itself, from the base Stingray. Additionally, important to note, Z06 production remained unaffected by this ERay production, so the Stingray was what seemed to be impacted for the volume of production taken up by the ERay. So up until now, the VINs for the ERays that were produced that we saw at the NCM Bash and some of these events that this car has made an appearance at were EX VINs, which ultimately end up getting destroyed after the testing phase. These vehicles will have VINs that will indicate that they are sellable to the end consumer, which usually go through this like dealer bidding and auction process at some future point once the testing fleet process has been completed and QA has been performed. And so impacts to the ERay production based on Roger's post on Facebook. Stingray production earlier in the week, Monday and Tuesday, was roughly high 70s, 79 to 78, so let's just say just shy of 80 for the first shift. And so the second shift produces roughly the similar amount, so you're talking about 140 to 150 Stingrays a day. But the days that the ERay was produced, we saw productions dip into the 50s per shift for the Stingray, which means that the ERay coming out with 50 cars seems to have devalued about 20 to 25 production counts out of the Stingray production. 25 less in each shift to account for the 25 or so per shift ERays that were produced, and so that's where you're seeing a 1-for-1 roughly in volume trade-off. And that shouldn't come as a surprise because 200 Corvettes per day, 180 to 200 is the max capacity for Bowling Green. That's something that's been shared by production representatives at multiple events so far, so we know that there's a cap in which what the factory can build, and this gives us some insight into how that's being divided, at least for the test fleet vehicle production. It is important to note that Roger Keel did state that Stingray production is expected to return to about 140 per day. And so really that's the heart of the information. What we do now know is that these production vehicles are being produced roughly around the same time frame that the Z06 test vehicles were built in similar fashion, a couple of weeks apart in time, so that kind of indicates that this is following the same timeline as the Z06 did in terms of what part of the year it's going through these testing production vehicles. If that holds true, I'm hopeful that we're going to see ERay production start at least sometime in late summer, early fall. But again, there has been a rumor out there that production for the ERay may get pushed back closer to the end of the year for customer vehicles. In terms of Z06 production during the ERay production, we saw 38 or so Z06s being produced on Monday, 35 on Tuesday. Again, this information comes from Roger Keel. And during the 3 days of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday that the Z06 was being produced in conjunction with the ERay being built by Bowling Green, there wasn't a notable drop-off in production. It was 35, 30, and 36 respectively. So we continue to hover around that 40 mark per day, and the ERay production seems to have only eaten into Stingray production and not impacted Z06 production. Either or, very exciting news. I am high up on the list for the ERay at a major dealership, so I do look forward to hopefully getting that vehicle within the first couple of months of production, and hopefully be able to make content with the ERay that I wasn't able to do with the Z06. And for those that are subscribed to the channel, stay tuned. I am going to be taking delivery of a vehicle in the next week or two. The paperwork's actually been done. It is not a Corvette, it's not another TRX, it's something completely different, a little bit of a curveball. For those that know, they know. And I don't expect this car to get a ton of views, but it's, again, content that I can make that I otherwise can't make with the Z06 that I don't have. So all in all, 150 ERays have been produced for test vehicle purposes. We're going to start seeing some of these cars rolling around, I assume, at press events. We're going to see some of these cars head off to the EPA, so stay tuned for EPA ratings for the ERay, which I expect to drop sometime around July if it holds true to when the Z06's MPGs were released to the public. Also coming up in July, we have the ordering guide for the 2024 model year Corvette becoming available, so stay tuned for that as well. And as many of you know, all of that information and more will drop on the channel as soon as it becomes available. So that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. If you have not already, definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And as always, until the next video, I look forward to seeing all of you in the comment section below.